Ever looked at a store-bought tomato and thought, why am I paying $4 a pound for something I could be growing in my own backyard? If you've got a small patch of dirt, a balcony, or even a few empty buckets, you are sitting on a tiny gold mine. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to turn that space into a steady stream of extra cash by growing tomatoes right at home. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know the exact steps, the mistakes to avoid, and the simple system that turns a hobby garden into a real moneymaker. So here's the thing most people get wrong when they start. They think growing tomatoes for profit means you need acres of land, fancy greenhouses, or some kind of farming license. That's just not true. Tomatoes are one of the most forgiving, fast-growing, high-demand crops you can plant, and they thrive in containers just as well as they do in the ground. In fact, some of the most successful backyard tomato sellers I've come across started with less than 10 plants. Squeezed into old buckets on a concrete patio, the real secret isn't space, it's strategy. And that's exactly what we're diving into. Before we go further, if you're serious about turning your backyard into a source of extra income, hit that subscribe button right now. Here on Green Profit Lab, we post practical, no fluff videos every week showing you how to grow food and actually make money doing it. So, tap subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's get into it. Now let's talk about picking the right tomato variety, because this decision alone can make or break your little side hustle. Not all tomatoes are created equal when it comes to selling. Cherry tomatoes and heirloom varieties tend to sell the fastest at farmers markets and to neighbors because people love that fresh, sweet, just-picked flavor you simply cannot get from a grocery store. Beefsteak tomatoes are great too, especially if you're targeting people who make their own sauces or salsas. My advice: start with 2 or 3 varieties instead of just one. This way you're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Nice.
And you'll quickly learn which ones your local buyers actually want more of. Keep that in mind, because in a minute, I'm going to show you exactly where to sell these once they're ready. Let's talk soil and setup, because this is where a lot of beginners waste money they didn't need to spend. You do not need to buy expensive raised garden beds right away. 5-gallon buckets with drainage holes drilled in the bottom work incredibly well. They're often free if you ask around at restaurants or hardware stores. Fill them with a mix of good quality potting soil and compost, and you're already ahead of most people who try this. Tomatoes love sunlight, so aim for at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sun a day. If your yard is shady, don't worry, a bright balcony or even a rooftop can absolutely work. The point is, you're not limited by traditional farmland, and that's what makes this side income idea so accessible to almost anyone watching right now. Here's something a lot of people don't think about until it's too late. And it's the difference between a garden that just feeds your family and one that actually generates income. You need to plant in succession. Instead of planting all your tomato seedlings on the same day, stagger your planting every 2 to 3 weeks. This means instead of getting one massive harvest that overwhelms you and then nothing for months, you get a steady, consistent supply of ripe tomatoes to sell throughout the entire season. This one tip alone is what separates casual gardeners from people. We're actually pulling in a few $100 extra a month. And speaking of money, let's talk about where that money actually comes from. Because this next part might surprise you. Most beginners assume they need a farmer's market stall to sell tomatoes. But honestly, that's often the slowest and most competitive route. Instead, start local and start small. Neighborhood Facebook groups, Nextdoor, and local buy-sell trade pages are gold mines for selling fresh produce. People are actively searching for local, organic, homegrown tomatoes. They're often willing to pay more than grocery store prices because they know exactly where their food came from. You can also approach small local restaurants or cafes directly. Chefs love having a reliable source of fresh, local tomatoes. And building even 1 or 2 of these relationships can create repeat income all season long. Some growers even set up a simple honesty box stand at the end of their driveway. And yes, that actually works surprisingly well in a lot of neighborhoods. Now let's talk pricing, because this is where people either make solid money or leave a lot on the table. Don't undersell yourself just because you grew it at home. Homegrown pesticide-free tomatoes are genuinely worth more than what you'll find in a supermarket, so price accordingly. Check what your local farmer's market or specialty grocery store charges and price yourself slightly below that. This keeps you competitive while still respecting the time and effort you put in. As your reputation grows and people start specifically asking for your tomatoes, you'll find you can actually raise your prices a little, because loyal buyers care more about quality and freshness than shaving off 50 cents. Let's pause here for a second, because there's one mistake that quietly kills a lot of these backyard tomato businesses before they even get started, and I want to make sure you don't fall into it. That mistake is inconsistent watering. Tomatoes are surprisingly sensitive, and if you let the soil dry out completely and then flood it with water, you'll end up with cracked fruit and blossom and rot, which basically means unsellable tomatoes. The fix is simple. Water deeply 2 to 3 times a week rather than a little bit every single day. And always water at the base of the plant, not over the leaves, to avoid disease. Get this one habit right, and you'll dramatically increase how much of your harvest is actually sellable, which directly increases your income. Let's also touch on scaling, because once you get your first small system working, growing it isn't as hard as you'd think. If 10 plants can generate a nice little side income, 20 or 30 plants, spread across a slightly bigger space, can genuinely start replacing a part-time job's worth of income during peak season. Some backyard growers even branch out into selling tomato seedlings in early spring to other beginner gardeners, which is honestly a brilliant secondary income stream because you're selling potential rather than just produce. And seedlings sell out fast every single spring. Before we wrap up, I want you to think about this. Right now, somewhere in your city, there are people scrolling through their phones, actively looking to buy exactly what you could be growing in your backyard starting this week. The demand is already there, you just need the system, and now you have it. If this video helped you see your backyard differently, drop a comment below and tell me how many tomato plants you're starting with. I genuinely read every single one and love seeing where people are starting from. If you found this valuable, share it with a friend or family member who's got a garden just sitting there doing nothing but growing weeds. And if you want more real, practical ways to turn your home garden into extra income, make sure you're subscribed here at Green Profit Lab, because we've got a lot more of these strategies coming your way. Thanks for watching. Now go grab those buckets, and I'll see you in the next one.